Syria announced that Syria's First Lady, al-Assad.
Ironically, Western media organizations have chosen to solely focus on the plight of refugees.
By now, the news of the new First Lady of Syria has probably dropped on your lap through social media or a political discussion with a friend. If you haven't heard anything, get in here as we share all we know about the new First Lady. She has become the center of so much attention in the new government. Today, we'll discuss who she is, where she comes from, what she stands for, and the reason why her story seems controversial. Early life and background. Born as Latifa Samir al-Drubi, the 41-year-old lady was born in the town of Al-Qaryatain in Homs province. Her family, the al-Drubi, is known for its historical and political influence in Syria. Her family is one of the oldest and most respected in the region. The Daruni name has been known in Syria since the Ottoman era. Her great-grandfather, Ala al-Din al-Darubi, held high-ranking positions in the Ottoman administration. He was a governor and even a physician to Sultan Abdulhamid II. After the Ottoman Empire collapsed, he briefly served as Syria's prime minister, but his time in office lasted only a month before he was assassinated, merely 26 days in office. Abdul Ghaffar al-Drubi, another relative and member of the al-Drubi family, was a well-known Quran reciter, and he was recorded as one upholding the religious emphasis in his time. Latifa's family has always been connected to politics and the country's religious elites. Among her ancestors were not only statesmen, but also a well-known Quran reciter. Her name, Latifa, means gentle and graceful in Arabic, words that, according to those who know her, describe her well. She received a strong education and earned a master's degree in Arabic language and literature. Despite her aristocratic lineage, Latifa's upbringing was private, almost discreet. Unlike her predecessor, Asma al-Assad, Latifa has a modest public presence, but don't mistake that for a lack of exposure or intelligence. Education and career before becoming First Lady. Although the exact time she acquired her master's degree is not public knowledge, being born in the 80s, we theorize she must have gotten her master's degree in Arabic language and literature in the 2000s. Known for their connection to Syria's identity, it's a surprise that her career was not as prominent as the former First Ladies who led lives in business and activism. Her professional life before marriage remains largely discreet. Critics who are both interested and intrigued by this First Lady, whom they know so little about, have argued that her lack of visibility is another thing that makes her stand out, makes her an unknown entity. Meanwhile, supporters say this modest public presence is her way of connecting with traditional Syrian values. In 2013, she married Ahmed al-Shara, whom she met at Damascus University. Their romance also called attention because at the time, Ahmed al-Shara was leading Jabhat al-Nusra, a jihadist group. Now, jihadist groups are basically related to groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, or Boko Haram. The fact that she chose to marry him in 2013, which was one of Syria's most troubled periods, including the rise of jihadist groups, has raised questions. It is unclear whether their marriage was based on love or was a traditional agreement meant to strengthen the relationship between influential families. Whatever they decide with this, we would also like to add that the union marked a crucial turnaround for Latifa. After the change in leadership, Latifa found herself at the center of public attention, and her image became part of the country's new political landscape. The couple has 3 sons, but little is known about their private family life. In a recent interview, the new president revealed that he had to move frequently and even spent time living in the mountains of Syria with his wife and children. Interestingly, Latifa's sister is married to Maher Mohammed Marwan, who was appointed as the governor of Damascus after the new government took power. It seems the new president is being careful, placing people he truly trusts in key positions. Until recently, Latifa al-Drubi's name had never appeared in the media. She stayed away from public events and led a private life, but everything changed when her husband became president, and now she is an essential part of his rulership. Her marriage and public image as First Lady, after Syria underwent its transformation, forcing its former ruler, Bashar al-Assad, to flee to Russia, bringing his long reign to an end. The opposition party to his ruling took power, and then the new leader of the country became Ahmed al-Sharaa. He was once seen as a warlord, a rebel leader, but now he wants to be recognized as the head of state. He has started appearing on the international stage, holding tasks and securing support from other nations. But it's not just his political moves that have drawn attention. His wife Latifa al-Drubi has also become a key figure. Her appearance in public eye was not an accident. It was a strategic move by the new government. After a sudden change in power, it was crucial to exude stability, that the First Lady is not just the president's wife, she is also a symbol of normal life in the country. For years, Latifa al-Sharaa stayed deliberately out of the public eye. It was reported that when she married Ahmed al-Sharaa, she did not know he was going to wind up being president. On the 29th of January, Ahmed was officially sworn in as Syria's president. This move completely affected Latifa's private life because the very next day, Ahmed had introduced her as First Lady at a meeting with a delegation of Syrian women from the United States. This was her first public appearance. With a smile, the new president dismissed rumors that he had multiple wives, saying, "There is no one else. What you hear on social media is just gossip." Unlike other First Ladies known to take on humanitarian roles immediately or political activism, Latifa only chose to make her first appearance after her husband assumed power. Interestingly, in that meeting, Latifa chose not to be photographed with the group. As a result, her appearance remained a mystery to the public. Despite that, her sudden appearance stirred rumors, and that was just the beginning of her journey. Her first major public event took place in Turkey, where she was beside her husband during a polite visit to President Erdogan. Then the second striking moment came when she accompanied him to Mecca, an Islamic pilgrimage called Umrah. A footage of the couple walking side by side inside Masjid al-Haram was widely shared across social media and sparked a huge reaction. It was the first time she had ever been seen in public. It became a true sensation. Some said this was their way of sending a message of unity, while some others questioned the sincerity of their rebranded jihadist group. She appeared calm, reserved, and respectful, perfectly fitting the image of an ideal Muslim wife. In just a few days, Latifa al-Drubi changed from an unknown figure into a public personality. Her image became a key part of her husband, Ahmed al-Sharaa's foreign policy strategy. Can she follow in the footsteps of her predecessor, Asma al-Assad? Or will Syria have a completely new kind of First Lady? Conflicting opinions and controversies. As expected of the life of any figure thrust into the spotlight, whether wanted or not, Latifa al-Sharaa's presence has been both celebrated and criticized. While some see her as a breath of fresh air from the usual First Ladies they've had in recent years. The calm demeanor, her quiet display of effortless elegance and intelligence has not only caught attention, but also brought her praises from people, including the Syrian-American activist, Dr. Reem al-Bazam. She described the First Lady as a sweet, confident, and well-educated person. However, critics argue that her sudden involvement and visibility are a way to improve her husband's international reputation, given that Ahmed al-Sharaa's past as a former jihadist leader is impossible to ignore. There are claims that Latifa's image is being used to show a softer, more loving side of both the regime and the president. But the biggest surprise struck us when we noticed her shunning the niqab. This may look like a minor detail, but not wearing the niqab is a sharp contrast to conservative expectations and has sparked intense debate about her role in the present government. Conservative groups, such as the one her husband led, frown on this, but some Syrian citizens saw this as her attempt to make a statement, either that the group was truly rebranded or that she herself doesn't support extremism. Whether her role is symbolic or substantive, one thing we're certain of is that she is making waves and drawing attention in the most subtle ways, but with impact greater than imagined. The glamorous and controversial image. Some call her Syria's Princess Diana. Others say she's out of touch with the sufferings of the country. But no one can deny she has been stirring up attention. From the moment Latifa stepped onto the international stage, she became a subject of fascination. The world got its first glimpse of her in January 2025 when she accompanied her husband on his first official international visit to Ankara. Standing beside Turkey's First Lady, Emin Erdogan, Latifa made headlines for her striking yet modest fashion choice. Her presence was impossible to ignore. Turkish media praised her composure and sophistication, while Western analysts questioned her appearance to mean a shift toward a more traditional, conservative Syria. But that question was immediately countered when the niqab was absent in her dressing. The trip to Ankara was no longer news the minute Latifa was seen alongside her husband at the Grand Mosque in Mecca during an official visit to Saudi Arabia. The images of the couple walking through Islam's holiest site quickly went viral, with some calling the moment a symbolic shift for the new leadership, fashion, elegance, and media chaos. Latifa al-Drubi is often compared to famous first ladies because of how she presents herself. Unlike Asma al-Assad, who was known for her Western-style fashion, Latifa's style is very different. She wears elegant abayas, embroidered dresses, and silk headscarves, showing a mix of cultural pride and grace. Her image is both traditional and beautiful. This sets her apart. The conversation immediately changed the instant Latifa al-Drubi made her very first public appearance as Syria's First Lady. Despite the mixed reactions following her appearance, we cannot deny that the internet took notice. The conversation around her has become as much about Syria's future as it is about her person. But when and how did it all start? The social media storm. The first image of Syria's new First Lady, Latifa al-Shara, surfaced online when she accompanied her husband, Ahmed al-Shara, on a visit to Turkey, where she met with Turkey's First Lady, Emine Erdogan. Erdogan shared on social media that they had a good conversation discussing important topics: humanitarian aid, women's empowerment, and the role of education. The official picture of the two First Ladies quickly went across different social media platforms and stirred mixed reactions. Some people saw her as this modern figure who had what it takes to redefine the global image and also the nature of the Syrian government. However, this opinion was limited as some others accused her of being a distraction from the deeper political and humanitarian crises happening in Syria. However, from a closer and more analytical point of view, the way she is perceived by members and citizens of the Syrian government depends heavily on the difference between generational and regional perspectives. Most of the Syrians who view her as a sign of change, and perhaps even a sign that Syria is moving toward a more modern, diplomatic era, seem much younger. For example, her decision not to wear a hijab is seen by some as a progressive stance in a region where religious and political identities are highly valued. In older and more traditional communities, people have been less impressed by Latifa. Critics in these groups think she's just a modern version of past First Ladies, like Asma al-Assad, who also focused on looking elegant while their husbands stayed in power. In general, the question many people in the world and under the Syrian government are asking is whether Latifa al-Shara truly represents change, or if she is just another figure in a long history of political making. Even though her style has drawn admiration, especially from people who see her as a role model for modern Muslim women, not everyone is impressed. Critics argue that for a country reeling from years of war, her curated image feels like a disconnection from reality. The question is, would westernized fashion mean a different thing? Also, what if this style is not carefully curated, but just a simple embodiment of her person? The contrast between her high-profile appearances and the daily struggles of ordinary Syrians has led to her being accused and called a First Lady of privilege, rather than a representative of the people, or at least culture. This would not be the first time a First Lady has been criticized. Asma al-Assad was dubbed the Desert Rose by Western media, Despite her humanitarian works and fluent English, her patronage of designer outfits led people to accuse her of being complicit in her husband's brutal regime. Latifa, by contrast, represents a stark departure from that image, but she has also been criticized and accused. There is an ongoing whisper among the people that her rise is less personal merit and more of a political strategy, a necessity. Asma al-Assad, who was First Lady Latifa for 24 years, was known for her involvement in charity and philanthropy, but Latifa has remained largely silent on major political and humanitarian issues. While she had made a few public appearances, she has yet to take on a defining cause. This silence only leads us back to the question, does she want to be in the spotlight even though she was thrust into it? Is she simply trying to be a mother and a wife, a symbolic figure, rather than becoming more of a politician? Her background, however, suggests she could do more, play a more active role in the future. Born in the town of Al-Qaryatain, Latifa's family hold a historical significance to the Ottoman era. Her education in Arabic language and literature shows her deep appreciation for Syria's heritage, a part of her that could be used in her new role as First Lady. However, it is clear that she wants no major part in the government. Critics say that if she wanted, she would be speaking about the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Syria. With millions of Syrians still displaced, hit with economic struggles, some believe her focus on fashion and appearances send a wrong message. So the question comes, would she rather reject her husband's quest to join him on international duty? Would that send the right message? As Latifa Al-Drobi continues to make public appearances, the criticism over her image will continue to be a subject matter. Why is simplicity termed as being polished and distant? As a person, isn't she allowed to decide on her choice of dressing, whether it be as a political symbol or a personal style? Latifa's political influence. Is there really any political influence on Latifa Al-Drobi? Beyond the fashion and glamour, how much influence does she really have? What's her role in politics and policy? Latifa Al-Shara has become more than just a first lady, but a national phenomenon. She has yet to make public statements on political matters. Her presence in diplomatic meetings has led many to believe she is more than just company. Even without an official government title, her background and family ties show her significance in the present government. The Syrian state media has pointed Latifa Al-Shara in a highly favorable light, portraying her as a supportive and educated first lady, and also as someone who is capable of helping her husband to stabilize the country and soften its image as it seeks to regain legitimacy on the world stage. In the official broadcasts, her presence has been emphasized and mostly seen at diplomatic events. Coming from the prominent Al-Drobi family with an historical influence in Syria's politics, she's connected to a series of powerful figures. Her sister is reportedly married to Damascus governor Maher Mohammed Marwan. Some insiders claim she softened Syria's international image, particularly in distancing the current administration from its past ties to extremist groups. However, foreign press and opposition groups are still skeptical. They argue that she represents a rebranding effort instead of real change. Being that Ahmed al-Shara was once affiliated with jihadist groups, the notion of rebranding remains a dreadful concept for the Western media. Despite efforts to present her lack of interest in politics, Latifa has not escaped criticism and controversy. Some opposition groups say that her family connections have helped certain political figures gain influential positions. This raises concerns whether she and her husband will genuinely pursue democratic reforms or simply consolidate power under a different system. Some Arab nations have warmed up to Syria's new leadership. Western government still remains cautious. The US and EU have yet to recognize the new administration, and some analysts believe Latifa's growing presence would push the administration toward an admirable gain. Among opposition groups, Latifa is to them an extension of the ruling 1%, and she has been since birth. She has had the opportunity to enjoy some amount of privileges in a country full of strife and hunger. Some hail her as a modern icon. They see her as a new hope for the Syrian government, while others call her a distraction from Syria's real problems. The Western and regional angle on Latifa al-Droubi. The Western and regional media have taken a different angle. Some news outlets see her as a potential reformist figure. Others remain unsure, pointing out the controversy between her and her husband's past affiliations and questioning whether her public appearances are simply a strategic effort to rebrand Syria's new leadership. Perhaps the most clear aspect of Latifa al-Shara's rise to prominence is the difference between her public image and the ongoing struggles of everyday Syrians. Some critics have argued that while Syria continues to face an economic crisis, political instability, and the lasting impacts of war, her focus on her wardrobe and polished appearances is a deliberate distraction from these harsh realities. Some see Latifa al-Shara as a sign of progress, while others think her image is just an illusion. Either way, she's one of the most discussed people in the region. As her role changes, the arguments about her will grow. The big question is whether her impact will go beyond appearances, or will she remain a symbol of Syria's political power game? Only time will tell. What does all of this really mean? Is Syria's new First Lady a symbol of change, or just a new face for an old system? She has been described by many as elegant and poised, with her sharp presence next to President Ahmed al-Shara, signaling a carefully crafted public image that aims to modernize Syria's leadership. Meanwhile, her background, which is deeply rooted in the influential al-Droubi family, has given her historical and social significance, showing that her story is more than just a personal narrative. It's a reflection of Syria's evolving political landscape. On the international stage, her presence suggests that Syria's leadership is attempting to reshape its image. But whether this translates into real political or social change remains uncertain. Love her or hate her, one thing is clear: Syria's new First Lady isn't going unnoticed. The real question is, what will she do next? Her rise as First Lady has captivated many and left them to wonder if she would use her position to push for real change, or would she follow the path of past First Ladies, whose power was more symbolic than practical? Beyond the fashion, the politics, and the carefully staged appearances, the real question remains: how much influence does she truly hold? What do you think? Is Latifa al-Shara a genuine force for change, or is her emergence just a rebranding of Syria's leadership? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Before you go, click on the next video below.